All right. Can you speak a bit more, Ismail?
I have a
You still
lovely
have an echo.
voice. I don't know
I
how
don't
to
have. He doesn't have
talk.
any echo on me.
Oh.
Zoe, Polly,
Damn it.
Oh. Name is Izzy.
Yeah, it works fine. Now it's this is perfect.
I'm the Izzy Frizzle Dizzle, my nasal for shizzle.
Okay.
I see Ray like being all cringe.
Stuff
Nah.
actually works.
I'm
It's
just
fine,
here
though.
looking at my dog. What you want? You
Alright,
want to
so
get back
for
up
me-
here?
So
No,
for me, guys, like if I do this, then I'm poking Ian. And if I do
no,
this, I'm poking you, fucking Ray. You
no. You're over there.
shit.
You're over there.
Oh, so if I
So
want
you
hit
have to do it
I
like
should be
that. You have to do it like this. You have to punch. You have to be like that. And if you want to go to Ian,
How,
you have to
how is
go
it-
like this.
wait. How is it on Ian's screen? Like Ian,
So,
what do I have
okay.
to do to punch you? do I have to
Punch
do
to
to-
your right.
My right is this.
Yeah, and I have to punch
Yes.
up, which is easy. I just
Oh,
hey.
I
Hey.
just need to do this to hit you. And how do I hit Ray? Like dunk?
You have to
Yeah,
like
well, you have to go diagonally
that.
to the right.
Ian can just go
Right.
down
Like this?
like
That's
there.
it.
Wait, yeah, like there. You see where I'm pointing?
No, diagonally. Yeah, that one. That's the one. Yeah.
Alright, so it's right and right.
Yes,
alright.
indeed. Just to check.
Hey, look at this. Look at this, guys.
Play. Sick, you have a pretty good dog. I'm not sure why, but it didn't record your audio.
With me or Zoe?
Both of you, Rice and you as well.
I'm recording everything. If there's a problem, just I'll fucking do it.
Alright then, fine. You know what? I'll leave the video to you then. Fuck it.
What am I supposed to do about it? What can I do?
I guess we should just more or less start the shit finally. And we'll just have to. I'll just try to hide my mother with my face like this.
Hide your mother with your face. What kind of sentence is that?
Yeah, but that's just kind of the truth, isn't it?
Should I do the same with my dog? Or should...
I know, but because your dog is cute. Yes, actually, I think I'm going to put this on a new YouTube channel. I'll just call it OpinionCast.
Okay.
Opinion cast?
Yes,
That's
because
what
it's-
everybody does.
Because we are people with a really strong opinion? Or-
Yeah.
I like this game, and you
I-
cannot change my opinion about it.
Exactly.
Oh,
Eat
and,
it.
then we're just gonna be mean to each other and break each other's games off, like, and then one's being like a little bitch all the time. Is that how it's gonna
It's
be?
also like because it's related to my main channel, right? The Opinionated View. So it's like
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
And also because I want to make reviews from now on that will be called the Opinionated Reviews. So then there's everything.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you
Everything opinionated. Opinionated is going to be my trademark.
yeah,
So
kind
do
of.
Do you want me to make reviews? God damn, dude.
No, you don't have to.
I know I only work 30 hours a week, but damn, give a brother some rest.
No, I didn't. I never asked you to make a review. What are you talking about?
I will make a review for you, Ian. All right, I'm. Oh, God.
All right, I want you to review the next WWE game that's going to come out and it be on the channel till the day it got released.
I'll
Okay.
find you in the hospital, Ismail.
I'm not gonna play WWE though.
Yes, you are.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
it's an
gonna play
obligation. We got to do it for his channel.
No, I'm gonna play a game that I can actually review and I have knowledge of. Like sports games are just the same bullshit every day.
MLB the sports.
It's like no, it's like Call of Duty for even
Yeah.
for dumb people, for non gamers.
So today we're going to review Madden 2021 for the PS5.
Fuck Madden. Fuck America, man.
2 out of 10. Fuck Madden. That's it.
Just to make
Call it-
sure, Rice, do you
Call it
have
American handball.
do you have it all in a grid so that you still have one free corner of your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, because then I can overlay the gameplay right there.
Like I got that corner over there. That entire corner right there. It's
Ideal.
it's
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
just dug up there. You know.
Yeah. Perfect. I can put whenever we talk about the game, I can put gameplay footage in that corner, so that's ideal.
All right.
Very good.
I
Good,
can use
good.
this for my power. Nice. All right. So now let's go talk about Michigan Hell Report. It's a great game. Show it over there, please. I would like to see some gameplay over there. Okay, let's now talk about, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption. I played it. Or something even more ridiculous. The Last of Us. Show it right there.
Yeah,
There.
let's put some footage right there about Hentai Nazi, that game
Oh.
that you gifted me.
Do it! Right there! Right now!
Can I stop with this? Like, oh my god, that remark was so.
It's a real gift from Heist. I'm not bullshitting you. He actually gifted it.
I know, but we shouldn't do it.
Make it seem like I'm playing a game in the corner right now.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have the best way. If you're gonna do that with that game, you just need to like replace your parents in the background with one of those two characters while they're like.
Oh,
talking
that's
to
too
each
much
other.
work. I mean, technically speaking, it's possible, but it's too much work.
Put me like
Okay,
playing Call of Duty right now.
That's why you're a noob.
I wish. So let's actually kind of start this podcast, and then because then we have a go point where Raixter can actually cut the recording and be like, okay, so this is the part where it matters. Welcome, people, to the first opinionated podcast of three dipshits trying to talk about JRPGs. Why are we talking about JRPGs?
I don't
Is
fucking
because
know.
I said so.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's
We don't
yeah,
really do democracy here, not today anyway.
That usually defines our friendship.
I have
Yeah.
no idea what JRPGs are.
Very good. That's why you're here. So that I can
Yeah, nice.
So before we actually get into the topic of JRPGs, there are a few things that I want to cover. First of all, I want to really talk about traditional JRPGs today. So not all JRPGs made in Japan count. That means the game has to be inspired by Japanese culture or media. So if we're talking about Dark Souls, which is a Western RPG made in Japan, it doesn't count. So we're talking about your Personas, we're talking about the Final Fantasies, we're talking about the, whatever niche kind of shit JRPG that you can think of, Eternal Sonata.
What
but not
about
Dark Souls.
what about a Western RPG that's trying to be a JRPG?
Like one.
Ni no Kuni.
Clandestine.
Oh, wait, Ni no Kuni is.
No, not Clandestine. Oh my god. Crosscode.
I was making a big ass mistake right there.
Crosscode, for instance.
This already shows.
I guess, sure, I'll find some gameplay footage later.
Crosscode is like a roguelike game that has very spinny. Well, it's very dynamic. No, it's not. Never mind. Fuck it. Just ignore my.
Sure. Just if it has levels and it has characters and it has a story focus, that stuff,
I know
Yeah.
this game. I know this game about this dude. He has this chick, and the chick gets abducted by this weird kappa kind of thing, and this guy needs to go towards these multiple levels. He needs to like jump stuff and you get power ups with it.
Fucking Super
Really?
Mario. I could smell your shit immediately. Don't fucking even, bitch. It's not an RPG. Don't do it as a platformer. So, but before we actually get into the topic of the JRPG,
It has a story though. It's driven every time by the fact you
Yeah.
have to save your girl in another
and
castle.
Mario
Change
still
my
hasn't
mind.
gotten any action.
Mario
even
is a
after
JRPG.
30
Change
years.
my mind. Change
I
my
don't. I'm not going to bother. It's worthless. But first, actually, let's start off with some introductions and why or what your history is with JRPGs. So first, I would like to start with Ismail. Could you introduce yourself shortly and talk about your history with JRPGs?
Well, okay, my name's Izzy, or Ismail, 1, 2, and basically I've gamed from a very young age. I think I already got a PlayStation 1 when I was 5 or 6. So the things that really struck with me back then were Tekken, Japanese. We're getting into the flow of Japanese this right here.
We
Don't even. And my first JRPG was, I think, Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X was my very first JRPG, and it really struck a chord with me because the first time with the visuals, like the freaking cinematic cutscenes at the start, those were like, whoa, what's this I'm playing? And it actually had wait, no, my first JRPG is Kingdom Hearts. If that's considered a JRPG.
Yeah, definitely.
I was also thinking because of Disney, it's maybe not entirely.
No, it's very Japanese. It's definitely very Japanese.
So fucking weeb. You don't even
Yeah.
imagine. It definitely is
Yeah,
Japanese.
no,
It fits you
basically-
perfectly.
Basically, Kingdom Hearts was my first JRPG. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts, and still one of my favorite games of all time. Hands
Fair
down, hands down. just because of
what
all
made
the
it different from other games? Why
For
why
me,
is it
for
interesting?
me, it was really because to make it all dramatic and depressing. The childhood wasn't really awesome. So having this game that was really about friendship and breaking circles, like even if someone's mean to you, if you can be nice to them and if they're nice enough back, eventually you can break the chains and unlock the doors to people's hearts. Yeah. So I really just like the dynamic between him, Kyrie, Riku, and how even though Riku went to the dark side, he's sort of still tried to save him, still tried to, like, I still believe there's good in you, and never gave up. And during the course of the games, it actually
Such a weep
it was
story.
say
Holy
that.
shit.
so the power of friendship was really a thing that really caught me, and the fact that it had a cliffhanger in the end. I was always in my mind, it was like, okay, you play a game, the story's finished. But at that time, it was like the biggest cliffhanger you could have. I was like, wait, is this how the game ends? And I didn't know it was going to be a part two. So it all for me in the end was a depressing, sad end, all
Sick.
about like he's losing Kari. He did the same thing, but he lost his girl, but it's okay because they saved the fucking thing. And it was Riku's gone. He was like, take care of her, and then I cried my eyes out the first time I played. I finished Kingdom Hearts. I
Immediately
didn't know there was going to be.
by those
I
weird
didn't know there was going
Japanese.
to be a part two. And then the second game, because I lied, Final Fantasy X is not my second one. It's the Tales series, Tales of Symphonia, which I really enjoyed as well. I really had a lot of replay. I really replayed that one a lot.
All right,
and
fair
then came Final Fantasy X with amazing visuals. Those three are really the defining JRPGs for me in my youth.
Before we move on to Rise, I first want to ask you, in short, would you say that the experience of Kingdom Hearts is different compared to the Western games you had experienced up to that point?
Yeah and no, because this is an RPG, so you always had these kind of level up systems in it, and the fact that everyone knows God of War and so instead there was this kind of a God of War kind of combat, like you're fighting action hack and slash, while you have two AIs, fucking Goofy and Donald, helping you, and actually the AI was pretty decent to really not be annoying, and actually sometimes were helpful. So.
Yeah.
It was amazing to play that experience because you also could customize Goofy, customize Donald, and really set their AI in a certain way so they could be beneficial to your own playstyle, which was really nice. Yeah, Donald was my healing bitch though. Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not.
all right. Donald was my healing. Yeah, let's just not say it.
All right, I'm not sure if that.
My healing bot.
Okay,
My
fair enough.
healing bot.
He's a very valued team member, just like the other ones.
Yeah. Especially the cure spell is amazing.
I bet. So let's move on to Rice or Bernard, whatever you want to be called. I'm not
Rakes.
actually.
Just definitely not rice. That's food. I'm not food. I'm human.
All right, Rice. Fair enough. Not Rice. Yeah, already punching the air. My head is much bigger than your tiny fists on this camera, so it's cool.
That's true. Regardless,
So,
okay, let me do my introduction real quick. My name in the
Yeah.
game, in games and online, is Raixter. People call me Rakes because it's shorter, and I understand that. Some asshole calls me Rice. I don't know why. It's stupid. He's Asian, I guess. So that's racist. Ignore that. As for games in general, I've been playing games for a long time, since I was 2. I remember very well. I used to have my PlayStation and my Game Boy back in the day, and you could even say that, well, 2 of my first RPGs or JRPGs in this scenario have been Pokemon on the on the Game Boy, and
course.
Final Fantasy VII. However, with Final Fantasy VII, I had the game. I had everything, right? But I was dumb and I was a kid, so I didn't have a memory slot. I didn't have a memory card, rather. So
Yeah.
I could not play the game for longer than like 4 hours. So what my stupid head would do is just keep the PlayStation on during the night, and you continue playing. That's what I did.
Not
I played
bad.
like up to
Not
8 hours. That's all I fucking did. But with Pokemon, man, I used to play the living shit out of that, and I still sometimes do every once in a while. I got Sun a couple of years ago, and I played it, and I liked it. And I was a really, really, really big Pokemon fan until I was like, 15, till like Diamond came out, and I played Diamond. I've also played Platinum. Also enjoyed that, but that's when I stopped. That's when I was like went to high school and started getting into other shit. Started getting into more of Western RPG kind of genre. I was starting to get into Fallout, Skyrim, and also MMOs. Guild Wars 2 I played a fuck ton of. Which also just developed into another gripe of mine, which is MMORPGs. I also love MMORPGs. I still play them nowadays. I don't play Guild Wars 2, but I play Final Fantasy 14 a lot. And moving on with the Western RPGs, still played a bunch of them. The Witcher, but now you might be saying, oh my god, you're a Witcher fan! Yeah, I've been a Witcher fan since the fucking beginning! I got all the fucking books right here! You expect me to not be a Witcher fan? Fucking no! Just I've been a Witcher fan for...
suddenly.
Because everyone on the internet...
prepared right there. It almost looks prepared right there. Totally not scripted.
Was waiting.
Just like a
If you notice, like a couple minutes ago, I went off camera. It was to grab the books.
I know.
So,
but I did not quite expect you to start ranting about The Witcher.
Yeah.
it's because everybody is like, oh, he's a Witcher fan. Oh my god. Everybody plays, got to play The Witcher. It's the best game out there. It's a meme on the internet. He played The Witcher, therefore it's like a fucking, he's an asshole. I don't know. It's just everyone's saying
You're
it.
definitely an asshole, but it's not because.
Yeah, regardless, I'm also into action games. I play a lot of them. Them Grand Theft Autos, them Red Deads, and also anything with a good story. I love Dragon Age Inquisition. That has a lot of lore. The Witcher, like I said, The Witcher 3 especially. And Nier Automata is also a really good one. And Final Fantasy 14 are the games that pop out of my head. And that's what I consistently play, really. It's just I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk, I suppose. And in the end, I just grab whatever I find my interest on and play it. Played Crosscode last year, loved the game. Played Tekken because some asshole told me to. I also like the game. I also play a lot of sports games because I like them. I'm a football fan. What else?
I also a fan.
I also play quadruple X games like Endless Space 2. I put like 50 hours into that game. The Division, just a lot of shit, really. I like everything.
All right.
Including JRPGs.
My taste is varied as well. But I do have a
1 second.
slight. Yeah, JRPGs are sometimes more story,
I also was really into, before I stopped, I was also really into JRPGs because I stopped and then I started again with Tales of Vesperia. It was the really first.
Vesperia's a good one.
It was really the first console JRPG I played, and I finished till the end, and I really enjoyed that, and I kept going. Like, started playing more Tales games, and started just varying a little more as well into the...
I can talk a lot about those.
Nice.
Yes, I...
Well, we can talk about it in a bit. Let's actually first finish the introductions before we go on into detail.
Never do a good construction.
I tried to be as simple as possible, but kind of expanded too much.
So, actually, I am Ian, or on YouTube, the Opinionated Review, or the Opinionated View, whichever one you want to search. Well, based on my Final Fantasy VII review, most people, you can already find out that my first JRPG was also Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1. Just like Rice, I also played without a memory card at first.
Hell yeah, we were just like that, we tried.
Because I was gifted the PlayStation 1. I don't know why anymore, but at the time, I didn't know what the concept of a memory card was. I only got it much later, that you have to insert something into the memory card slot.
So you played the beginning part a lot of
over and over. And
same, I did the same.
I was like, why the hell is it not continuing here? It's like, I don't understand. If I stand in the save sphere and it says you can save here, why does it say insert memory card? It's kind of confusing, but okay. So I have a lot of experience with the first cutscene, the CGI one. That's why I have a lot of respect for that one cutscene. Why I'm also very happy it returned in the remake. But actually, back in the days, I wasn't that into gaming yet, even though I really liked Final Fantasy VII. I mostly just played games for the novelty, and I only really got more into games around the end of the PlayStation 2 era with the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games. And then after those, once I really got into gaming heavily, was in the start of the PlayStation 3 era, around 2008, when I got my PlayStation 3 because of Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. So actually,
Metal Gear Solid 4 though.
Yeah, also, but that was like the game after Call of Duty 4 that I got, I think.
Oh.
And actually, a link to Metal Gear Solid, I would say that Metal Gear Solid is one of my entries into JRPGs. Like, it is not an JRPG, but it did get me the introduction to Japanese culture and storytelling. So I already played Metal Gear since the Metal Gear Solid 2, I believe it was. I think I played a little bit of the original Metal Gear Solid, but I never owned it. But I did own Metal Gear Solid 2. So that was actually my first introduction with really storytelling. And then after that, I really got into JRPGs around the time, I believe, Final Fantasy 13 brought me back in with interest, at least. And the first JRPG that I really, really, really liked, that kind of got me hooked into JRPGs ever since, was Ni no Kuni. Because at that point, I had played some other JRPGs, of course, but they hadn't really pulled me in. So it is from Ni no Kuni that I went back to Final Fantasy.
And Ni no Kuni 1.
Yes, the original.
And what did you like about the whole? What was it that hooked you in?
I think it's that it was very different, even though it was very traditional.
Like it had like these Pokemon elements in it, right? If I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, I also played a lot of Pokemon. That's true as well. I forgot for a moment, but I played since.
I also forgot to mention Pokemon.
Pokemon Gold was my first Pokemon, and then I went.
Everyone
back
forgot
to
about Pokemon except me. God damn it!
Yeah,
I'm the true Pokemon fan here.
You did better than me, Raix.
Wait, it's still here, right?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Pat on the back.
Wait, it's that way, right? Yeah. High five! High five! Yeah.
Exactly. But aside from Pokemon, what made Ni no Kuni for me interesting is that it was a JRPG that circumvented Japanese tropes. Because at the time, most JRPGs were filled kind of with fan service, were filled with rudimentary turn-based combat or real-time combat that just kind of sucked dick. The exception is Kingdom Hearts, but I was not that into Kingdom Hearts, so I can't really name that as the exception that I played. And also, the difficulty of Ni no Kuni really appealed to me, because I am that guy who played Souls to death, so I like difficulty, and Ni no Kuni is not an easy JRPG, unless you grind, which is possible, but it's not recommended. So then from there on, I actually it rekindled my interest in JRPGs, and I kind of went on from there. So ever since I went back to Final Fantasy, Persona, Dragon Quest, other games like Nier appealed to me more. I'm really into Trails of Cold Steel these days. Ys. I recently bought a niche game called Tokyo Zanandu because it's similar to Persona, etc., etc. Xenoblade, name it. These days, I'm much more involved with JRPGs than I used to be. And actually, I like them much more now than I used to because there is a lot more. I like the storytelling, the length that you can put into one of these games. And it is a complete story, usually, unless it's an established franchise. So yeah, that's the thing that brought me into JRPGs at the moment, and why I'm playing them more actively now than I actually used to before.
Would you say regarding Ni no Kuni that the comedic feel of the game would be one of the reasons why you got hooked to it?
Not the comedic feel, but the art style, yes.
Oh, the art style.
Because I really like
Ghibli aesthetic, really.
Exactly.
If you watch those anime movies as well, then
yes, absolutely. Spirited Away, you name it, all of them. I have pretty much seen. Princess Mononoke, and I really love them. Especially the somewhat older movies, because in spite of their cartoony art style, they are actually fairly serious. Like Princess Mononoke is quite bloody, no joke.
It's pretty. They really have those themes with nature and balance and all of the things.
And they kill shit. It looks like a child's movie, but it's not. So the art style actually brought me back to. It definitely appealed to me to Ni no Kuni when I saw it in the trailers, for sure. So now I actually want to ask you guys, starting with Ismail, what is the JRPG that you are playing now, or what was the most recent JRPG that you've been playing, and why?
The most recent, that's got to be Tales of Vesperia on the PlayStation 4.
Again?
Yeah, I played it like 5 years ago, but I borrowed it from a guy that used to have an Xbox, because back in the day it was a Xbox exclusive, which was annoying to me because I wanted that game so hard because it was a new Tales game. It was actually pretty good reviewed and had some new stuff in it and a good adult story, and it was like, yep, I need to play it. And then someone in my environment had it, and I did it. But then there was a sale a couple of months ago, maybe a year ago, on PlayStation with a JRPG sale, and I was like, Tales of Vesperia for the PlayStation 4. Yeah, I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, you should.
But
Yeah.
it hasn't aged well for me though. Like
Why?
the combat is for my if you're used to other Tales games, it has a more like of a faster paced, more smooth combat wise. It's better. It's good.
So
The
it's
combat is just way slower, it seems, than
Right.
other Tales games, where it's less like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do jump and then and it's like, oh, I'm getting hit 5 times before I even jump. Fuck me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I'm more used to the
so
whole. I don't mind being difficult, but I just want the whole fluidity in the combat when you're in combat. I
Right.
really need that in those. It's
So where
just-
would you make the separation? Where did the Tales combat become smooth? Is it from Tales of Exilia onward,
Well,
or
to be fair, it's yeah, Celia is smooth as hell, but the weird thing is it feels slower than something like Tales of Symphonia or Symphonia 2, where it's my idea is way more of a fair game with the whole blocking and stuff in it and how you can combine stuff. I really can't explain it really well, but the combat really feels slow in Vesperia compared to the other games. But it also can be maybe a bit nostalgic. But I have played Symphonia like 2 years before that again, so I should remember how it goes. And especially
Yeah.
Symphonia 2, it's real faster. So it's kind of weird how a later Tales game felt less smooth in combat, but maybe because they were trying to do a more tactical thing, like you have to do more defending before actually doing a hit or doing something really comes with a risk reward kind of stuff. But I just keep get blocked every time.
Let's not
It's,
forget
uh,
let's not forget about Berseria,
Yeah.
where it gets a lot faster.
Oh,
Because that's the
Berseria is
latest
really
one
good.
that came out, and it has a really fast open combat where you can freely roam and also just attack at
Xillia
your.
as well though.
Yeah, exactly. But it has a much faster pace where you are constantly on the go fighting enemies, and you can even switch to other partners like in other Tales games. But in
Yeah.
this regard, it's just everything just happens faster.
Yeah, but you also have this PlayStation exclusive one that's called Tales of Graces F.
Yeah.
That one is kind of niche. I've come to understand it, but that's one that's the combat is just good as well. Only the how the party is made up is somewhat meh. And again, once in Tales games do have the environmental problem sometimes, where it's just like, it's a big environment which is all the same color and thing, and okay, I need to go to the next zone and then hopefully see something change.
Yeah.
That's something that game
one of
really,
my major gripes with the Tales series in general?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I could really get by. But then but I just see past it because of my love for Symphonia, because
I
that
see.
one was actually pretty good considering the age.
But would you say that combat hasn't lived up to the standard set by Symphonia to you, or
For
have
me, yeah, but
more?
I also think it's really a nostalgic factor to it, and I really have to say Xillia and Graces and Vesperia, even no, none of Vesperia, but you have Xillia and you have one before that.
Vesperia is the.
Let me just open my Steam. It's just
God, I know which one you mean. You have. It even had an anime made about it. Tales
Yeah.
of
Zestiria with a Z.
Zestiria.
Zestiria, yeah.
There
that's
we
also
Oh,
a really
okay.
good one.
Yeah, it's the one that got reviewed not as well as Berseria.
But it's a really fun combat as well. Really fast.
Fair enough.
And
So
I
what
like
about you, Raix? What is the JRPG that you're playing now, and why is it good to you?
It's Final Fantasy 14. Just before I got into this, I was playing it, and I forgot that we were gonna have a podcast today. And when I realized, I was like, "Shit, I gotta finish my dungeon." The thing about it is, it's an MMO, like most people know, but obviously made in Japan because it's a Final Fantasy game, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, for people that are not aware of the game that is Final Fantasy 14, it is very story focused in the way where it's very traditional as well as an MMO. If you played World of Warcraft, you know what you're getting into. If you go to Final Fantasy, but you just follow the quest lines. But in this case, there's like one gigantic quest line that leads through all the expansions,
Mhm.
and um, Just you follow that storyline, but there's also the side quests and stuff like that. So it has a very JRPG feel. Regardless, I've been playing it lately because it is an RPG or a JRPG that I've been playing since 2015, back when Heaven's Sword came out. With you, actually, Ian, but you decided to give up, and I kept playing.
A subscription renewed, and
Yeah.
I didn't keep on paying.
Yeah, but regardless, I kept on playing and I kept on trying the story because people were telling me, "Hey, Heaven's Sword has a really good story. You might want to continue." I'm like, "Okay, fine." I kept going and I got really attached to it, and I also got an emotional attachment with my character that kind of helps with me go through the combat, which can be slow sometimes, but it also gets compensated by the bosses, by the mechanics, by everything that happens around you when you fight things. You might be thinking to yourself, "Hey, combat can be slow, right? It has a slower global cooldown than WoW. It's not really that good. But when you have a boss that has a really good lore, it's really fucking badass to look at, and has all of these mechanics that are really difficult for you to understand and dodge, where sometimes you even need a guide. You need to look up a guide. There's some that are over 40 minutes for you to watch and read. When you have to go through that in something that adapts very well to the combat, it kind of justifies being hooked into the combat and exploring it even more. In my case, I play Ninja, which is a character that has a lot of weapon skills with daggers. And well, if you've seen Naruto, you know what you're getting into. There's jutsus, there's kagebunshis, there's bunshis actually. So there's a lot, but there's also other classes. It goes on like that. But regardless, the story is what gets me hooked. The story is
Do you
what's
also
keeping me
fight
hooked.
your best friend and do you scream Sasuke?
I should do that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your character to just beat up some random guy, call him his best friend. I'm gonna take you back to the village.
There is a moment where Izzy's probably gonna know what I mean, where it's the final battle in Stormblood, where you're facing this dude that you've been just having a gripe against for the very beginning. Kind of reminds me of that story arc in Naruto Shippuden, where Naruto is trying to find Sasuke, and he finally fucking finds him, and then there's a battle to the death. But it skips like when you find him all the way to the very end of Naruto, where it's just a really badass fucking fight that happens. I mean, really fucking badass.
Yeah.
But regardless, there's some things that I dislike about the game. Too many fucking side quests, and I'm a person that really has to do the side quest. I have this thing in my brain where it's like, you gotta do the side quest. You gotta do every single fucking side quest. So it took too long. And that's kind of really it. And I've been enjoying it for 5 years, and I still do, purely because of the story, music, which I haven't mentioned, but it's great, and the fighting.
It's a good game.
It is a really good game.
I played it with you. We played a lot together. That's it. So yeah.
You failed a lot together because you're a Dragoon.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. You're a floor tank.
Yeah, Ray. Still less than most Dragoons though, so I'm happy with that one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Even without Dragoon, you still fall off.
Yeah, no, I'm taking my high fives back, you bitch.
So actually, what I'm kind of curious about is that because you also played the traditional Final Fantasy releases,
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy 15, and you have an interest at least in the Final Fantasy 7 remake to some extent.
Yes.
Why is Final Fantasy 14 for you the JRPG choice? What makes it better than single-player JRPGs to you?
For starters, it is a game that is very complex in its content, where it has a lot of content, especially if you buy all expansions. And we're not just talking like, oh, just because it's a lot doesn't mean it's good. In this case, a lot of it is good. If we start off with the base game, A Realm Reborn, it's not exactly good. It has a lot of quests that lead to nothing, especially in the end, where it's not exactly a good experience. But if you go to Heaven's Sword, oh my god, it's just a really good experience that I think it's worth it for everybody. Because of the story behind it, it involves dragons, and it involves a war between the humans and all races really, that are a part of a town that is pretty much isolated from the world because of the politics. And then you go in and you just start helping everybody and start just making sure that everything is okay. And then you start fighting dragons, and then everything goes to shit. The characters you like die, things happen, and it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. You go to the next expansion, same thing. Combat may not be the best, but it has really good boss fights, really good lore that goes behind them. It just keeps the flow going, and it has such a good amount of content that is constantly being added that I believe that just because of that, it has a spot between single-player RPGs that are well recognized, and not only that, but also be able to take that spot and go above it. I could go on, but there's a lot to say, so I'm going to keep it simple. Good story, decent combat, or well, shit, but really good boss fights, and just Something to keep you hooked every time you want to go in, and it just keeps going.
If you had a traditional JRPG fan like myself, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not as critical as I am, but that's just a normal guy from the street.
Yeah.
And you had to convince him or her to try out Final Fantasy XIV based on the gameplay. Which boss fight would you recommend to that person to watch?
Oh, there are a lot, man.
There's so many.
You can only pick one. Which is the one that should convince people like this is why Final Fantasy XIV Online works?
Susano.
I would say Nidhogg. Especially if you play the prequel. If you play the cutscene before Nidhogg, you'll realize that there's something really cool happening. And then the music kicks in, where you hear this lady sing with a casual piano tune going on. And then you realize that you're about to face a big threat that it's really difficult for you to handle. But eventually, spoiler alert by the way, eventually just something big happens where you get this really urge of power going into your body from the help of somebody else. And then you realize, oh shit, now I've got myself something to help me that will handle this threat against him. And then the fight itself happens, and there is a story going on in the fight where, if you follow the story, there is somebody that Nidhogg has absorbed because of the story. It's a Dragoon that has been with him for a while, and he's using this Dragoon to fight against us. And you see the Dragoon fight against him, but losing against Nidhogg, and Nidhogg becomes even stronger as the fight goes on. And then you see this desperation going on in the fight, and it has this really good end to it, where just a lot of things happen that I don't want to explain because it's a lot. And just in the end, you defeat it, everybody's happy, and you realize, wow, I am a hero now, and this is how it feels. So, really good story for starters, really good cutscene before the fight. The fight is good, and a really good ending to it. It has everything that it needs for a fight to convince somebody to play it.
I can see that Ismail is thinking about it. Has this convinced you, or do you still say Susano?
Susano Extreme is really good.
It takes too much pre-knowledge, I think, for Nidhogg. And Susano is one of those guys where it's just like, I'm going to show you a cool boss. And Susano's like,
Yeah.
your demons. And it's like, oh, look at this, what you have to do. And then button mash your mouse so you can block his big-ass sword.
He has a big-ass sword. That's what I was going to mention. It was such a cool moment.
Basically, Susano is a really good, I think, cinematic boss to really help with, oh, look how cool mechanics are. And 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 then, yeah, I think still Susano, though. Like, if I would show a guy that doesn't know Final Fantasy, yeah, I would show Susano.
All right.
Or maybe the last boss from
The last
War,
boss
like
is also
King-
so
King
good.
Arthur boy.
Maybe
Arthur
not show
boy.
that one because of spoiler reasons, but okay. Fair enough. So for me, actually, the JRPGs that I'm playing now, actually, I got to a point where whenever I buy a system now, I demand that I have a fitting JRPG for the system. A JRPG that really kind of defines the system. So to give you an example, right now on my PlayStation 4, I'm playing Persona 5 Royal, which I love. It's one of my favorite games ever, actually. On the 360, I have Lost Odyssey ready, which is a very niche JRPG, but also a very famous JRPG.
Yeah.
I believe it was actually made by the original Final Fantasy developers. So that's why it's already quite special. On my PlayStation 3, I played a lot of Tales of Exilia. I played also somewhat more rare games like Resonance of Fate. On my PlayStation Vita, I played Persona 4, and I'm also playing the Ys game there now, Ys 8. And on my Nintendo Switch, I obviously have Fire Emblem, Three Houses. So I
Fire Emblem's
have
good.
to have some fitting JRPG on whatever system I play on. But for me, the one that really sticks out and that has stuck out to me since 2017, when I really played the original, is Persona 5.
What would that be? Is it the story, the combat, the mechanics?
It's the package. It's really the whole
It's
package.
just the whole thing.
Because I'm a big fan of Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
But to me, Pokemon got kind of stale because of its meta. Pokemon is a very one-shot kill meta. You build your team around the weaknesses of the opponent, and then you one-shot kill them. And there's really not that much that you can do about it. The only kind of deviation from the one-shot kill meta is spikes. Whether it be toxic spikes or steel spikes, so you can do some kind of damage. Or maybe if somebody has a double weakness, you can do a lot of damage with your normal spikes. But with Persona 5, you still have the weaknesses, just like in Pokemon. But unlike in Pokemon, you can combine your personas to create new personas with completely different moves. You can inherit completely different moves from all of your personas before. It's like taking on the moves from Charmeleon when you fuse a Charizard or whatever would kind of be the theory, right? If you could do the same in Pokemon, which is really cool. One of the things that you do in Persona that's completely different from Pokemon is that you can get repeated turns if you hit your opponent's weakness. So if you hit an opponent that's weak to electricity with an electric attack, you get another turn. And you can hit the other opponent as well. But one of the cooler things about Persona is that if you shock the opponent and they have like a shock effect on them, and then you hit them with a wind effect or something like that, then you can still critical hit them and knock them down, even though it's not their weakness. Because there are these extra layers of mechanics on top of the standard strengths and weaknesses that Pokemon has. So you can play this really intricate game in the end where your opponent has no weaknesses. But because you can put the correct status effects on them, whether it be sleep, whether it be confusion, you name it, whether you can buff your own critical hit chance, you can still knock down 3 or 4 opponents and do your special attack on them, which does a shitload of damage. And that added that extra layer of depth to the gameplay that really made me go, wow, this is peak turn-based JRPG combat. This is how I would have loved to see it in Pokemon and in other JRPGs.
You speak that this has been your favorite since after 2017. However, as far as I know, you played Persona 4 after 2017,
Correct.
which makes me question. Persona 4 has the better overall, not reception, but better critics overall in the gaming industry. What makes you think that Persona 5 is better than Persona 4 Golden?
Yeah, I think that it's actually kind of a misconception. I think that Persona 5 is actually received better critically. The difference is that before Persona 5, Persona was still a niche JRPG.
Yeah.
So Persona 3 and 4 were already sort of more popular than 1 and 2, but they were still very niche. People didn't know Persona before Persona 5, generally speaking.
Yeah, Persona 5 was one of the ones that was sold better, but I think on Metacritic, at least when it came out back in 2008, the reception behind it was better. If you go check its actual, not reception, but critics. Critics responded better. I think it had like a 97.
Maybe it's possible, but I think that might have to do with the amount of critics that reviewed it. Because
That
the kind
too.
of critics that would have reviewed it in 2008 when it released on PlayStation 2 are the people who are already into the JRPG genre. That's why they know about Persona, right?
Yeah.
But by the time that Persona 5 released, it already had a lot of hype. Because Persona 5 is the game that defines style in menus. There is no other game that is so famous for its styling in its menus.
You're right.
And also the music, etc. So it already launched very successfully. I think it sold multiple millions of copies immediately. So it got a lot of reviews. I think because of that, it also got a lot of more critical reviews. That's the point that I'm getting at. A lot of non-JRPG review outlets who wouldn't have played Persona before did play Persona 5. So they are more critical. And I think that impacted the general Metacritic score.
What made you think that Persona 5 is better than Persona 4, especially since most of the mechanics that you mentioned are also part of Persona 4, that being the expensive combat, the dialogue, and also just how it flows as an entire package.
I think the difference is in the focus on solving the main problem of the story. So if you check Persona 4, and this is one of the advantages to some people, but not to me. One of the things that Persona 4 does is it introduces every single cast member, and then it dedicates a full-on story section to that cast member.
Yeah.
First it's Yosuke, and then later it's was it Chie? I think it might have been Chie, and then it's Yukiko, and then it goes on to other cast members that you learn. So every single time they introduce a new cast member, how they play, what their insecurities are, and then you go through their palace and you kind of help them see their own weaknesses, which is really cool. And it gives every single cast member a lot of character development, which is really good. But it also makes the first half of the game very predictable. Whereas if you look at Persona 5, already from the start you're introduced to multiple characters, but they aren't developed in their own little section and then not again. Throughout Persona 5, the entire cast is consistently developed bit by bit. You learn more about them, but the focus is first on the opponent Kamoshida, and then you go to the next opponent, and then you go to the next opponent, and the characters develop throughout their encounters with these different opponents. And the actual dungeons that you play through in Persona 5 are so much better than in Persona 4. It's not even mildly comparable, because Persona 3 and 4 were still based on randomized dungeons. They had a certain style,
Yeah.
and then the layout that you would go through per floor would be randomized, which is good for loot, which is good for opponents and stuff, but it's not very good for having a very structured and interesting visual experience. Whereas obviously with Persona 5, every single palace is developed from the ground up. It has a tight layout, it has a map that you have to follow, and you can explore a bit, sure, but everything is planned out. You get to see every single corner of every single palace, basically. And they just have a lot of cool events that happen in them. You do a lot of cool stuff as these Phantom Thieves, jumping off from roof to roof. And in Persona 5 Royal, you can even use your grappling hook to slide, to just kind of Spider-Man from location to location. Sneak around the corners and then stealth attack opponents from behind, etc., to get a good turn. It makes the entire experience just a lot more polished from start to end. So even though some people are fairly critical to Persona 5 for not dedicating entire sections to the cast, I think that Persona 5 actually did a better job overall because it developed the villains. So actually, I smell we still have one topic to cover, which is what JRPG would you recommend to people that they might not be aware of? So think more about niche RPGs.
They might not be aware of.
By the way, we took a small
Batten-
break
Batten-
because Izzy had to do a call, and
I had work shit.
we had a 10-minute break, and now we're just keeping up in case there was a cut. There will be a cut, so yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I would take nuts.
work came up and I had to do some stuff.
Horrible work.
Yeah, it's just disappointing.
Who does that?
So-
Responsible stuff.
Yeah, I don't work anymore. I don't know why you don't do tattoo.
I've never.
We
worked in my
switched
life.
roles, Izzy. You see? Now I'm the one that doesn't have work. It's wonderful.
Yay. And basically the JRPG I would recommend is pretty niche. Is
Good.
Batten Kaitos.
Never heard
What
of
is
it.
it about?
I
How
had
does
that one
it
on
play?
it was on the GameCube. And basically it was kind of a turn-based kind of thing, but it had this card system. And basically weapons were drawn into this card. And sometimes you had this deck you had to choose from multiple swords or multiple magics or like whatever item you had in it. You could use it and it would have an effect, like damage if you had swords. But every character had like a different type of cards, different type of weapons. So what you had like this, you had this kind of deck, and depending on what level you were, you could choose like one sword, and then your character did like this 2-hit combo, and your swords were like this radiant thing, kind of like how Gilgamesh summons a weapon in that anime. Like Gilgamesh summons a weapon, you would that would happen. But the thing is, you could also like pick up bananas that would heal you. But if you were like playing for a little bit longer of a time, the bananas would turn into rotten bananas, and then they would do damage. So that was also sometimes just in your deck.
Why bananas
Yeah,
of all
of course.
things?
Because it was a healing item. It was like, oh, you go in this barrel. Oh, look, a healing item. It's like a JRPG thing. You know, you go every house. Looking
Oh,
every
okay.
fuck.
So there's more than
You look
bananas.
at
It's
the-
not a
you-
topic about
Yeah, yeah,
bananas.
yeah.
Oh,
No,
okay.
No. It was like a healing item and a thing.
It's just the entire game is only about bananas, right?
I thought we were talking about
point-
Donkey Kong for a minute.
So it feels like a RNG kind of thing, but at the same time, you build your own deck, sort of say, for every character you have.
Yu-Gi-Oh, but every attack is with a banana.
Yeah, let's keep it at that. But at the same time, the story is pretty good because you start out with this guy that has amnesia and basically talks to you. He breaks the fourth wall, and you're like this talking ghost thingy, which he talks to. So every now and then, the main character is like breaking the fourth wall and just talking to you, and you have to make his choice. One of the choices, like yeah, no. So you're always like you're getting more sunk into the universe, and at the same time, it's about floating islands. Like there's no ocean. They move to other islands with like these type of air whale thingies or airships.
So
I
it's
don't
just
remember
like
which.
Yu-Gi-Oh, but with the monkey
No,
from
totally
Monkey
not like
Ball in
Yu-Gi-Oh because
it,
it was
where they constantly are up in islands, and the monkey has to go inside a ball and roll, but at the same time be Yu-Gi-Oh.
no,
Damn.
it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh where you
Fucking
summon
ape
monsters,
escape.
Yeah, the
but
Monkey
it's
Ball. You know
more
Monkey Ball, right?
basically
Yeah,
what it was is
yeah,
that your character has like this animation and you choose like the basic sword, a fire sword, or an ice sword. So what it basically does is your character does the combo, but depending on which card you chose, the second part of the combo would be fire damage, and the first part of it would be like ice damage. And depending, and later in the game, stuff starts to happen. Like it goes deeper because if you have a certain type of combo of elements or weapons or magic spells, depending on the character you play, you would get this like this super buff boy move, which is like this ultimate Kamehameha kind of thing, where it's like I'm summoning Leviathan, and then that was always fun to like if you had like this certain cars that were like tick 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 tick. Ooh, it felt good. It felt really good. But it was also pretty difficult at some point. You had to grind a few times.
Old school JRPG
You
shit.
had to grind a little bit. Yeah, but a little bit. Not really, really hard. But oof, it could be really challenging if you didn't have the right cards or the right or even like you could even use your card when you're defending. Like when the enemy is attacking, you can use your a shield, or like this armored helmet, but it has a different armor rating. So depending on that one, you could also be like, oh, the enemy has water damage. I need to do my fire armor cards if I have them in my hand right now, because then, or yeah, in your screen, so that you
It
can.
actually sounds a little bit similar to the Game Boy Kingdom Hearts game, because there you also have a card
Ish.
system.
Yeah, ish. But it's really it feels different. But I really know what you're getting at. But actually, it's kind of the same, but more of a way that you could have more cards ready. You could be more strategic with your deck if you considered all the super combo moves. Like if you had the 2 1, like from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 card, you would get. You use it in the type of order, you would get like one of those super moves. Like one of the cards would just transform into black hole, and then you could use it, which was amazing.
So whenever you play the black hole card, do you also quote Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged? Do you be like, it's time to die?
No, I should do it though next time. Yeah, but it's the time. It's a GameCube game, so it's somewhat basic sometimes, but the environments were pretty dope. Like the graphics and environments and the story was pretty dope. Yeah, it really had this. Before Avatar was the thing, it had a kind of a story like that, kind of.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Now becomes a little
Like
bit
what
more
about
understandable.
you,
this fire nation trying to rule the other kingdoms
Snap?
or other islands.
Turns out that Avatar was a ripoff all along. What the hell?
Oh yeah.
Feels bad. Netflix is not gonna like that one.
Oh,
So what about you, Rex? What is the niche JRPG that you would recommend to people?
I have a gripe with niche RPGs as I don't play them. JRPGs as I don't play them that much, honestly. If I had to classify one, if it is possible, it would be Crosscode, where you play a game that's kind of like a Metroid kind of game, but it has a lot of the elements of JRPGs. It's Western. It's very Western. No dialogue, however, but it has things that you would expect out of a JRPG: a level system, a lot of dialogue, exploration, side missions. The combat, like I said, Metromania kinda, not Metromania, roguelike. Sorry, where you spawn. It's 2D. You go into the fight. You just fight. It's dynamic as it can be. It's very dodgy, very difficult. You have little health. Bosses do a lot of damage, and it's just a fun ass gameplay. But I would not very much consider it classic. But it has a lot of elements into it. And why do I like it? Is because you start off going into a virtual reality world where you enter it and it's like a fantasy RPG that's really big, really complex. It's one of the most played out there. But you're a character who has a glitch where they cannot speak. this character is called Leah. It's a girl that can only say like 3 words in the beginning, like just hi, question mark, and exclamation mark. That's all she can do. And you try to play as this character, trying to interact with other people, and then the story gets more complicated as you find out what's going on with your way of speaking. And it goes into points where it even breaks the fourth wall, trying to just add a second layer to the story of what's already happening.
Doki Doki Literature Club all over here again.
Okay, wait a minute. My favorite niche RPGs, Doki Doki Literature Club. I forgot about that one. Oh my fucking god. Jesus goddamn Christ. But no, it doesn't go to that extent. It goes to the extent of, oh, look at me. I'm a developer of this game, and I am strong. I'm going to use hacks to stop you, and you cannot stop me. Ha 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 ha. And it even goes to the point where it crosses the line that Sword Art Online did, where you cannot leave the words at one point for some people, where the developers create this entire words that is basically just full with people that are basically slaves, so to say, and just they treat them badly there. And there's like a very dark story underneath what seemed to be in the beginning a very happy and flourishing story. Besides that, if I had to just really link a niche JRPG, what I consider would not be played by many would be Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia on the Nintendo 3DS. Why do I say this? Well, it was popular in Japan. It was like sold by many people. In Europe and North America, it sold okay-ish, I suppose. It didn't get a lot of word for it here in the Western world, but Nintendo called it a popular title. Regardless, anyway, it doesn't matter. I do kind of like it because simple combat, but it does something that, for a portable game that was on the 3DS, by the way, it is something that I really liked. It's a Fire Emblem game. It has a long story, 30 hours of story, all voice acted. All of it. It's like, what? For a portable game, that's insane. Where every single character, even side characters, every single line felt like you deserved to listen to. Regardless of that, combat was simple, very simplified, but it involved a strategy where you had an entire war going on between two sides, and you had to play a side A and side B, which was Alm's side and Celica's side, where Celica was like from the Northland, she was like a queen, and Alm was just a farm boy, and they fell in love with each other when they were little, and then they separated. They've been trying to get together ever since, but there's this asshole in between that's trying to stop both, and there's like an entire war story that's going on about that. But one thing that I really liked was the gameplay. It was very simplified. It was basically what has the strongest sword and what has the most HP would just collide, and whoever would win, boom, there you go. But the thing about it sounds simple, but there would be lots of layers going on where there's lots of people to fight. There's stairs, or I think people who were above ground would just have a bigger advantage. There were just those kind of small little layers that would just interfere with the combat, making it a little bit more challenging, especially in the end. Another layer, this is something that I really like to add, it's the music. Music is hella good. The last boss fight has a song that I just still listen to every once in a while, especially in my workouts. It's so good. But yeah, if I had to choose two, there you go.
Nice. Why Shadows of Valencia? Because if I remember correctly, there are 3 Fire Emblem games on the 3DS, right?
Yes, there's Fates, which is like turns into 3 games. Fates is okay, it's good, but then again, this has to go into a niche category. And out of all 3 of them, I would put Shadows of Valentia as the one that sold the least. I pulled out numbers. It sold in 135,000 in Japan when it came out. It even got nominations for awards. Like it was supposed to, it went into what was it? It was like best 3DS game in IGN's Best of 2017, but it was a nominee. It didn't win. Same with Handheld of the Year at the DICE Awards. Didn't win, but still was there. Like, it had popularity, but wasn't at the same realm as Awakening, which I played and loved, and also Fates, which a lot of people like. It was like 50-50, very bipolar. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people disliked it. And
Would you say that Shadows of Valencia is the best of those 3, or?
I say that Awakening is the best of the three because it has just everything that the Fire Emblem fan wants. But as a niche RPG, I would classify Shadows of Valentia as a niche JRPG, while I would not classify Awakening as a niche JRPG. You understand?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Good. Then on my end, I have a few recommendations. One of them doesn't really count anymore, or it kind of does, but I kind of want to recommend Persona 3 to people. But obviously, Persona isn't really niche anymore because of Persona 5, so it's kind of a technicality here.
I also had technicality, so it's whatever. What we consider niche, okay? What we consider niche.
It's still an older game, of course.
Yeah, exactly, because it has always been niche, but Persona 5 kind of retroactively made it more popular. It's kind of weird. But because Persona 3 to me is a really good recommendation because it's all about death and accepting death, which is very dark, very depressing, and it is a fairly depressing game. Even the game starts off with the sentence "You are going to die," so you already know what is going to happen to you. The entire intro is full of sentences like "Memento Mori," etc., etc.
It's like Dark Souls.
You don't actually respawn. You actually are dead. So yeah. But I think that it's because of that theme of death, which is there from start to end. I think that the setting is very unique compared to any other JRPG that I can think of. Every single character that you meet in this game is involved with death in some form. Either they are going to die, somebody who is very loved to them is going to die, somebody has just died who is very important to them, or the characters themselves know that as a group they are going to die, but they don't want to. So what are you going to do? And how are you going to deal with those emotions, etc.? So there's even a side character in the game who you meet and who seems to be quite jolly in his text and his voice. But when you actually see him sit down, he's actually super depressed. And he writes you these poems every single time that you hang out with him, where he shows a bit more about himself and writes this kind of revelation about how he comes to grips with the fact that he has a terminal illness and he is going to die, and he is actually okay with the fact that he is going to die, finally. But you have to hang out with him 10 times to get the full character progression. So the first 8 times it's like really depressing because he's like, I don't want to die, I don't want to leave this world, I love my family, blah blah blah. And then at the end he finally comes to grip with the fact that there is no getting around it. When it's your time, it is your time.
It's like that Final Destination movie.
Yeah, but less comedic.
Yeah.
So that's why I really like Persona 3. But I also really want to recommend as a really interesting kind of because it's very unique in a way. This game isn't super good, but I think it at least deserves a bit more attention, which is White Knight Chronicles on the PlayStation 3. And this is a game that's very comparable to Final Fantasy XII in that the combat system is quite passive. Final Fantasy XII, you set up your character builds before the battle, and then you go into battle and they perform the builds that you have created pre-battle. They cycle through actions. And it's kind of the same with White Knight Chronicles, where you don't set up gambits. Instead, you kind of set up the builds, you set up combo lines, etc. Can you hear the water getting sprayed outside?
A little.
All right, sick. Yeah, there's water getting sprayed outside. And then you can actually... every single character is basically a blank slate. And it uses a skill system similar to an MMO. So you can build any character in a certain class the way that you want it to. And then they will automatically perform that in combat. Which for some people didn't really... interest them that much because it's not super interactive like Final Fantasy XII, but it does make for a very deep build craft. And you do feel a lot of progression because the game starts off kind of stale. It's not super deep at first. But once you've done some side quests, once you've done some level ups, got some new gear, etc., and unlocked your knight, which obviously White Knight Chronicles, your character can evolve into a knight, then the combat becomes a lot more interesting. And I think that the character designs are also very interesting. And one of the things about White Knight Chronicles that I appreciate most is that immediately it treats the two games that it has as one game, just split up into two halves because they had to develop the second half. So even when you buy White Knight Chronicles 2, you get White Knight Chronicles 1 for free. It's part of the
Damn,
package.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
2 games in one. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually really they were actually quite good with that stuff. And then also it builds up from a really local story where you start off as a farm boy, and it really builds up nicely and gradually in a way that makes sense to at the end of the second game, you're in this full-on world war with pretty CGI cutscenes, just like in Final Fantasy. And it actually makes sense for once. It's not just, oh, enemy is coming, the world is going to explode unless you use your friendship power. No, this is actually built up. You build up your relationship with other nations, with other races, etc. And then by the end of it all, they all come together to fight this evil that has been foreshadowed from the very beginning. So that's actually something that I really appreciate. For once, it makes sense.
Fair enough.
And
I
also
also want
like that there is a running theme with these JRPGs that we're also mentioning, where it seems like we start from nowhere. You always go into a fucking farm and get some potatoes as a main quest for some old ass lady for like 50 coins.
Probably. I'm pretty sure there's one of them in White Knight Chronicles as well.
There's always that running theme in Japanese games where you gotta start from nothing. Always. Happens also in Final Fantasy. Also happens in, just Persona, actually, where you just start from nothing going into somebody else's home in high school where you never meet your parents and you're just making relationships before everything turns into shit. And then it's like, oh shit, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, the difference I think is that in Persona, they don't make it the secret that you're special, right? In Persona, you're immediately invited into the Velvet Room.
Yeah.
They're like, you're the guy who is going to save this world, unless you fuck up. You have to make sure that your social relationships are good and that you train your personas. Then you can save the world from getting fucked up.
But this
in
is
White
very.
Knight Chronicles, you're just some dude who works for I think it was for a bar. And then you start off just delivering food and drink to people.
Why does
But
it
then-
always have to start with fucking barns or farms? Damn. Always something related
Middle
with.
Ages.
Okay, fine.
I mean,
But as for
it's kind of-
Persona,
Like, why weren't there trains in the Middle Ages? Like, god damn it, why?
it's not Final Fantasy, I guess.
No,
Is that the correct answer?
it's not. It's not a steampunk setting. No.
Yeah, but even in Final Fantasy, usually the main character is special, except for Final Fantasy 12, where you could argue that the main character wasn't special at all.
it happens in Final Fantasy 14 where you gotta pick up some papodas for some people. So yeah, it starts there too. Where you start from nowhere. You start inside a wagon talking to some random asshole that you just met.
Skyrim?
Like Skyrim, yes. Yes. I made that joke because a friend of mine started playing the game recently. He bought me the sub that I'm playing right now. And
Yeah.
I said, still awake? Like, where in the beginning... No, wait, what did he say? Are you awake yet? I
Yeah,
think.
something
Are you
like
awake
that.
yet? And I said that at the very beginning, just with a Nord voice. Are you awake yet? And just to get that Skyrim joke out of the way. And he
Yeah, it's-
responded with, so when is the horse going to start flying?
Yeah,
Don't know.
he's right. When is it going to start glitching out? Where is the Thomas the Tank Engine Dragon? I'm waiting. Yeah, and another JRPG that I recommend also because it is very unique is Resonance of Fate. Because it is, I think, the only gun-based, turn-based JRPG ever made. So it's actually all about range. It's still turn-based, but you can move freely. Just that when you move,
Kind
You're
of like Fire Emblem.
Kind of like Fire Emblem, yeah.
maybe a little bit, but in Fire Emblem you move your units, right?
You move
Yeah.
individual units, but they also have like range, like you said. Some of them, so it's all in squares, right?
Like
And-
archers have range and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
This game doesn't have squares, right? This game doesn't work like that.
Oh, okay. So it's not
More like
tactical.
Tails, but with a lot more three-dimensional range, something like that.
yes, I guess like that. And everything stands still until you take an action. If you take an action, the opponent also gets to take an action.
Ah.
That's how it is turn-based.
Okay.
But the cool thing is that because it's all gun-based, it's not about how far away your opponent is, it's about line of sight. So you have certain obstacles that you can jump over. You can get behind cover, and then you'll get an accuracy bonus and a defense bonus, stuff like that. And instead of just doing raw attack damage, which does almost no damage, you have different categories of guns. You have a blue type gun and a red type gun, etc. And if you want to deal max damage, then you first have to hit the opponent with your blue type gun, which weakens their armor, more or less. And then with the red type gun after that, which removes all of the blue life that you kind of accrued. Whereas if you just hit them with the red gun, the armor stops most of the damage. But you cannot just freely put a blue gun on every single character or whatever. There's just one guy who has a blue, the rest has the red guns. And they have turns that they follow. They have a certain amount of steps that they can take until they stop, etc., etc. So you really have to start thinking, and then eventually extra mechanics get added, like grenades and stuff. And combo attacks with your 3 main characters, where you can run up to your enemy, maybe jump over them, and then shoot them in the back to launch them into the air, Tekken style. And then the guy with the red gun can shoot them mid-air to keep them air juggled. And then the third guy can jump in the air and then shoot them back onto the ground to finish the combo. So it gets really deep. It's also a very difficult JRPG. It's really difficult. But I think it's also one of the most unique combat systems that I've ever played in a JRPG. So
I don't have an image on my fucking mind. It sounds complicated.
It is complicated, and it doesn't have good tutorials, but it is very fun and interesting.
Just like JRPGs. Sounds about right.
Yep.
Good tutorials? Nah, we expect you to know how to play the game before you bought it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
They have a tutorial section in the game, but the sick thing is that you actually have to find the location where the tutorials are. You can completely skip it. It's like hidden in a corner somewhere.
Wait, how does that work though?
It has an overworld, right? And the tutorial arena is on the overworld. You have to just find it because you have to unlock all of the grids, and then it will show what's under the grid. And one of them is the tutorial area.
I like, there should be a tutorial on how to find the tutorial.
Yeah. I totally skipped over the tutorial the first time I played, and then later I walked into it by accident. I was like, oh, I can practice here.
After 5 hours, this is where I get to the tutorial, huh?
Yeah.
So
But
It
it is
sounds like
very-
really weird. Like it sounds like so weird. Like what if you're just a first time player? You're just gonna go off and then
Yeah,
die because you don't know how the
Yeah.
game works, and then at
pretty
some
much.
point
Pretty much.
you're like looking up an online guide. Oh, this is how you play it. And okay, and then at some point, wait, is this a tutorial?
it sounds like an afterthought. Like, they finished the game. Everything is done. Just the audio's done. Everything delivered. Can we go gold yet? Okay, one of our testers is coming in. Where the
We
fuck
don't
is the
know how to
tutorial?
play.
Oh, shit, we gotta add a tutorial. What the fuck do we do? Just put it somewhere in the other word. It will be fine. I'll write the text. Go.
Put it in the
Go.
corner somewhere.
And it's like, oh shit, is it done? Yeah, it's done. Send it to Peggy and everything. Go ahead. Go. All right, let's do it.
Definitely, but I would not recommend to play this if you're not very patient, because you're gonna have to put in some effort to learn the combat system. This is definitely a game with a high learning curve, especially because every time that you take an active action like jumping, you have like a total of 10 points, I think, and every active action takes up 1 of your action points. And if you reach 0 action points, then your characters cannot jump, cannot run, cannot shoot. So you're essentially fucked, and you have to hit your opponents with enough damage for them to drop another action point so you can continue attacking.
So
So it's really strategic.
do they like break their fingers and their legs? What the fuck happens for them to not to shoot?
They get scared of the opponent.
Oh, okay, they get scared. But if they kill another, okay, that kind of makes sense.
And then if they critical hit you, you also lose a bunch of action points. But they drop around the environment, so you can pick them up again. But obviously, if you start walking, then the opponent also starts walking. So it's like they can also pick up those action points and extend their action, so they can do more than you. It becomes really quite strategic.
Boy,
Yeah,
Boy!
but it is good. Kratos would be proud if you complete this game. So I think actually for me that's it with the niche RPGs that I can recommend as well. And I think that
I don't know if this one is niche, but Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. That was a really good one on the GameCube. But
That would
niche?
be
I don't know.
niche. I think it even sold less than Shadows of Valentia. It did definitely because it kind of got revived. Because back then, Fire
It was
Emblem was
such a
like,
good game.
it was like, yeah, like, if I would have
Really
to say,
liked the story.
Awakening was like at the very top. Shadows of Valentia was like, no, not Shadows. Path of Radiance was like here hanging out on the Wii and the GameCube, just chilling.
It was a GameCube game.
Yeah, but the
That's for
sequel was
sure.
on the Wii.
Yeah, the sequel. But
And I'm talking about the sequel, which was kind of shit. It
Oh, there it is.
Was the sequel shit?
was shit.
Oh,
It had
damn.
bad ratings.
They didn't do Ike justice.
It
Damn
didn't. It
Yeah,
didn't.
Every franchise needs a stinker, so
Fire Emblem
Mine
has a
is
plenty of stinkers. Plenty. But it really went downfall after, what was it called? It wasn't Path of Radiance. It was something of Radiance.
Oh, Path of Radiance was really good.
Yeah, that one is good. That one's fantastic. But what was it called? Fire of Radiance? I don't remember. It doesn't matter now. But the one you're mentioning is indeed good. It's pretty fucking good. That I will not deny.
now I'm kind of wondering with myself, like, what is the most shitty JRPG that has been made? And maybe that's for a later discussion. Then I think we've recorded plenty long for now. Fair enough.
Fair enough, yeah.
Thank you,
Fair
my
enough.
guests, for
Yeah,
giving
my
your
apologies. My apologies. I wasn't all there today. Hopefully next time it will be better.
all good, no problem. Hopefully next time I don't have people talking in the background. That would be nice as well.
Next time, pay for a fucking split subscription before you start recording.
Watermark can really eat a dick.
Or just do what I fucking did. Get your fucking own room. Like an Izzy too. Izzy over there. Like he's using his fucking couch. That's it. That's all you see on some fucking animals.
Hell yeah.
On my end, you see my dogs. You see my pillows too, but it doesn't matter.
I have an own room. The problem is that my internet doesn't really reach up that far.
How do you survive?
How do you
Plus,
survive?
I tried both of my laptops. I tried sitting in a different room, but it didn't work out. So
It was the first one. It doesn't matter.
yeah, fuck it.
First one is always has like the first, the last.
in Lynn's room.
Huh?
I did.
Oh my god, how Lynn had always had internet. How did you feel?
Yeah, the internet is not the problem. The laptops are.
Oh,
Just take the cable. Take his
Yeah,
cable and be like, it's my cable, and then just use it.
Exactly. No, my gaming laptop failed because the this headset wouldn't get registered on it, and then my work laptop failed because it only has a single plug. But this headset is a 2-plug headset, microphone and audio. So yeah, both of them were not an option, sadly.
So everybody did their fucking mistake. It happens. I was a little racist in the beginning. Izzy was like away for a little bit. And
I used the B word.
In the beginning. Wow, guys, we all have problems. You're a bit weird. That guy, you know, he kept on talking. I'm a bit racist, you know.
It's the classics, you know.
Yeah,
It was for a joke. Usually when back in like 2016, being racist, but if it was funny, would not be considered right.
Look
What?
at him trying to. Oh no, I'm not racist at all. I'm gonna say something.
I never killed an Asian, so far as I know.
Before the SJWs get to me.
obviously, son of a bitch.
It's all for jokes. I'm not racist, I promised. I honestly
Okay.
never had problems with anyone of color, so.
I'm waiting for the I'm not
Don't
racist.
don't say a disclaimer like that. It doesn't help your case. It
But
doesn't.
hey, we're cutting everything out. I'm just trying to make it clear.
Actually, I'm not racist.
But just like do a beep.
Yeah.
Just do a beep for everything racist I said.
A really long beep, and then it ends with It's like,
Just to make it
Right.
worse.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like effort of your mother, mother.
Motherfucker! Yeah, that's what he meant.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Totally.
See,
YouTube is not going to demonetize that one.
Nope.
Alright, fair enough. Good enough for the first podcast. We're gonna do it.
yeah, boy.
Yeet. Actually, how far did you get into Persona 4 yet, right?
I haven't done much, just like 12 hours. I have solved the first part of the game. Well, not really. I fought the boss, and I have to do the entire thing with the social events. where I gotta talk to people and stuff until the end date, and then I move on with the story. Because I did the entire dungeon in one day, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like doing the entire social stuff.
That's good. I see. I actually quite like. I was actually a fairly big fan of walking around the village, talking to random people, finding clues. I actually quite like that. But it does become a little bit tedious around the end of the game, because then you kind of expect like, oh, this is the part where I have to go around the village and ask people for
That's a
details
that's a problem overall with the games, I think, because they take too long. They're too big, in my opinion. For instance, like
Yeah, they're
Persona 5, I was expecting the end. I was very close to the end, and then it didn't end there. I was, yes, but I'm like, what, 5-10 hours? I have like 105 hours, which is already a fuck ton.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, once I get to the end, I'm gonna stop. It didn't stop. I had this disappointment in me where I just could not finish the last dungeon. I tried so many times until I sold my PS4, and then in the end, it was like, oh shit, what do I do now? I gotta wait until the PS5, and then I can finish it. Meanwhile, I got Persona 4, but it kind of, to me, it's like the same problem already, where I feel like I'm already too tired of Persona. Where I try to play the game, I start watching, I try to pay attention, and there's something else going on my other screen, and I go like, this is more interesting than Persona. And I stop playing the game, and then I move on. I tried so many times where I'm just tired of the formula. I guess I get tired of it too quickly. I was really into it. Like, I would spend the weekends playing Persona 5, like 12 hours in one time, and I was really into the story, and I still am. I love the fucking story. It's great. It's fantastic, but everything else to me, it just feels too stale. Just walking around, being social. I can do that outside. And, well, sure, you could tell me, hey, but what about all the entire things that happen outside the world? Like, oh, just the fact that you can go into this really creepy shit world that goes you through stairs and whatnot. Yeah, that when you have to like hang out for, I don't know, 4 hours, those moments don't really justify it. Where you gotta just spend a calendar doing your social activities and getting everyone on the highest rank possible and just trying to get as much perks off them. Just is too much to me. Especially when you spend a good time doing all of that. So for me, it's just that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I liked it in the beginning, but it got old too fast. What do you want to see? Huh? What you want, huh?
It should be like the on break screen. Like have the dog just.
My barber did a fucking spectacular job on my hair. Look at that.
Yeah,
Look at that little cuff. Yeah, that's good.
It's pretty smooth, not gonna lie.
Man's got his geometry right. He also did my eyebrows, strangely enough.
I've never had somebody touch my eyebrows ever.
He says that I ask, like, I do my eyebrows, and he tells me like, oh, I noticed that you did your eyebrows, but the thing is, I got a new cutter for my hair, for my beard. So I tried to cut my eyebrows, and I fucked it up. I cut like a really big slice right here. Like my eyebrow would extend till here.
Nice.
And I cut this entire bit, and it was like sticking out.
Yeah.
It was like this, and he fixed it. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he even tells me, there's a lot of people that come in here just to fix their eyebrows. You could do this every couple of weeks, and I'll just charge you $3. And I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea. Sure. And he did a wonderful job with them. I'll fucking show you how it was. Actually, I got a picture of this. Because I took a picture to show to my... we're recording this, but fuck it. I showed a bit... Wait, where is it? Yes. Google Photos. I took a picture for college because they asked for a passport-like picture for my card when I get it. And let me screen share this. You're probably gonna see it here. Do you see that?
Yeah.
All right. Like we took a bunch of pictures here. This was me before my hair, right? Where's that one? What was it? I think it was this one. Look at them eyebrows. Look how fucked up they are.
One of them it has an angle, and the other one is square.
Yeah. Look at that fucked up hair too. Just I
at
look
least
so
you have a-
fucked up.
At least you have plenty hair. That's pretty good.
And you can already see the white points. Some white hairs. Beard was fucked up too. Just everything was fucked up about this fucking monster of a being. And nowadays, now it's completely different. This one's fine, but this one isn't. You can see the cut here.
Yeah.
And you can see also fucked up here because this
Yeah,
bit has
definitely.
a reception, this one doesn't.
Yep.
And I even hurt myself a little. You can see like a little bit of a scratch there.
Nice.
And then the beard was all wrong. I said this to them and I don't even know why. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Never in my life. Nah, never again. I'm gonna have a really ugly card for the next year.
I guess I'm. I don't know. I don't know if I should call myself lucky, but I've never had anybody tell me that they need to touch my eyebrows, at least.
Well, I had it purely because the guy noticed that I didn't have decent eyebrows. Like, he was cutting my hair, right? I was like this. And then he just asks me, I noticed that you touched your eyebrows. And I'm like, yeah, I got a new machine. I fucked them up. And then he's like, oh, yeah? Then he's like, can you turn this way? I turn this way. And then he starts cutting my eyebrows. I'm like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. He's going to change them, isn't he? And then he changed them to something better. Then I ask him, whoa, you know how to do that? I'm like, he's like, yeah, people come here for eyebrows nowadays. I'm like, wow. That's
we
cool.
should be like, wow, it's almost like it's your job.
To cut eyebrows?
Always be a sarcastic prick.
He's a barber. It's not. It's a male's barber. Like, it's for guys. And he's telling me, like, yeah, people here come here for eyebrows. You're telling me men come here often for their eyebrows? Yeah. Never had that before. No, nobody ever touched my eyebrows until now.